tonight, we have a really, really inspirational builder to me. He's been in the game a very, very long time, and his name is Doug Keim of Creative Cycles. But first, before we get into that, let's get into our sponsors real quick. First up tonight is Trulers. You can reach them at trulers.com. Um, they make all kinds of magnetic and sticker rulers, long tapes, and stuff for being able to lay out custom paint jobs, laying out custom seat designs, doing metal fabrication. These are the best things you can use. They're awesome. Please check them out at trulers.com or Trulers on Facebook. Next up is Level Up Audio Towers. If you're wanting the best, you have got to check these things out. They are toe behind. Basically, uh, it's a party on wheels. They are self-powered. They come in multiple levels, which you can get some that are just for speaking. You can get them for speaking and audio, so you can have the music playing, or you can get the big boy, which is playing music, doing lights, doing everything. And you can have, they're all self-contained, so you can play these in uh, a parking lot with no electricity, self-contained. Check them out on Facebook. Level Up Audio Towers. We'd like to say thanks to our friends over at Urban Rides Magazine. They are out in Myrtle Beach right now having a good time and looking for the next bike that's going to be going on the cover of that magazine. Check them out at Urban Rides Magazine. They just released their first hard copy in Daytona. I've seen it. It's awesome. You got to go over, get your subscription. You can get them online at urbanridesmagazine.com. Find them on Facebook at Urban Rides Magazine on Facebook. You got to check it out. These guys are just amazing, and they're huge supporters of the Grind Show. Next, you guys know this. J&D Custom Polishing and Plating. When you need it to shine, you have got to go see my friend Gary Dubois at J&D Custom Polishing and Plating. Whether it's polishing, chrome plating, copper plating, it doesn't matter what you need. This man has got a team of guys over there that will make everything look good. I personally know because he does 99.99% of everything I do that needs to be polished or chromed within reason, because like my sissy bars, I do all my sissy bars here, but I'm going to start sending all of my stuff to Gary because when it quality matters, you got to send it to him. And he's got a resume now with some of the biggest builders in the country, winning show after show with his custom chrome and polishing. Check him out on Facebook at J&D Custom Polishing and Plating. Next is my good friend over at Squealing Pigs Audio, Mr. Lonnie Rebels. This guy can build the most insane baggers with the mildest stereos, or he can build the most insane baggers with the most amazing stereo systems. He does everything from the 2 speakers all the way up to the ground pounders. He is really good. He has tuned my bike up. He's the one that put all the equipment in my bike. I know him personally. He's a good guy. He's honest, and you will get what you pay for with Squealing Pigs Audio. Whew. Now, if you need custom seat work, whether it's reshaping a stock seat, putting a new cover on it, whatever you could want done, handmade seat pans, custom foam, inlays, leather tooling, exotic hides, whatever you could possibly need, American Drag Seats is the place to go. We also offer the built-in air ride system, the airbags in the seat, not under it, inside the seats. We can make them for any type of seat out there, whether it's a 2-piece bobber seat or it's a big, touring bike with the buttons and the pillow top. We can handle it. Check us out at AmericanDragSeats.com. Ooh-wee. Last, but definitely not least, our good friends over at Hopkins Design. Hopkins Design are the guys that are going to be doing the documentary for the 2021 Grind National Biker Build-Off. This guy is awesome at websites, hosting. He's a true artist. He can draw whatever you want. He can come up with company logos. He does print layouts. He does everything. You got to reach out to Earl at hopkins-design.com. Reach him to him on Facebook too, Earl Hopkins. He's on there too. So, told you guys I had someone really special tonight coming on, and let me show you guys some of this guy's work before I bring him on. This is Doug Keim. He has built some of the most amazing motorcycles you could ever even think of. Um, does all of his own work. This guy has been in the game for a lot longer than I want to count or recollect. Um, he is one of the nicest, most soft-spoken men and builders I've ever met. I've ever had the pleasure of talking with. Um, I got lucky one time, and I actually got to do a seat for him a couple of years back. And to be honored to do a seat for a guy that builds at this level is just amazing to me. But let's bring Doug on real quick, and everybody say hello to Mr. Doug Keim. Eddie, here we go.
Hey,
What's
Kevin,
up,
how are
buddy? How
you?
are you? I'm
I'm doing
good.
pretty darn
I,
good. Very good. Very humbled to be here.
I mean, I got goose pimples having you on here because I've been a huge fan and a follower, and I know back in 2003 when I first started doing motorcycle seats, my dad had Easy Rider magazines, which we all know, they were to a degree had some stuff that 13, 14-year-old kids shouldn't be seeing, but we'd sneak them out and we'd look inside of them. And as I got older, I remember one of the first bikes I ever saw from you was ironically the picture of you doing the burnout just there, and it was in Hot Bike magazine. And that's when
Right.
I first saw you. And then I think, man, I want to say it was Easy Riders Dallas, but I could be wrong because it was 2004 or 2005. I didn't get to go up and meet you, but I saw you, and I don't remember which one of the Easy Rider shows it was at because that first 2 years that I was in this industry, I went everywhere I could possibly go to meet everybody I could possibly do, so that I could actually get more work. So I don't remember which one it was, but anyway,
Oh, and I'm insulted.
you should
Not
be
really.
because let's say
Not at all.
17 years ago, 16 years ago, my memory is gone.
Not at all.
I will say this: I see that you've got facial hair. That's something that's new. I'm not used to seeing it.
Well,
What's,
yeah,
what's up with
I'm
this?
incognito now. That's the reason for the beard, and
Right
that's
on.
really that's not the reason at all. Long story short, I finally broke down and had my knees replaced. Very long story behind all that nonsense, but during that period of time, if you've gone through a knee thing, and I hope nobody ever does have to deal with that, not fun. And the last thing you want to do is to have to go stand in front of the mirror and shave your face.
Yeah,
And I'm a guy who could shave my face twice a day, and I grew the beard, and it just didn't leave. That's the short version of the story.
hasn't left yet.
Hasn't
So
left yet.
all right. So let's back up. How did you get into motorcycles in general?
I I don't know that I truly have an honest answer for you there. It at a very young age, and maybe you found the same thing. I don't know. There was something about that first bicycle that I had, and I mean it went back that far.
Yeah,
That it was just my bicycle was just it. And the faster that I could go, and the further I could push the envelope, so to speak, was just that was it. It was just the coolest thing out there.
yeah,
And I was still single digits. I didn't come from money. My parents were just hardworking folks. I to this day I don't know how they bought me a mini bike. Neither of my parents rode, and that just went from my bicycle being cool to just being holy crap, this is cool.
yeah,
And that progressed into dirt bikes, and dirt bikes progressed into motocross bikes, into road race motorcycles and the drag race motorcycles into the custom motorcycle industry. So it started probably single digits, to be very,
Yeah.
very, candid about it.
So the stories that most people say are pretty much along the lines of yours. I remember the first time I rode a bicycle, it was like freedom. Like, I've got
Yeah,
freedom.
exactly.
I don't have to walk somewhere. Now, instead of going 2 houses down, now I'm going to go 10 houses down the street and be able to haul butt back. And then,
Exactly.
I didn't get into motorcycles until my 20s, so didn't have nothing to do with it. My dad built bikes. But your story, how did you actually get to the point where you decided, hey, I like Harleys and I like Indians and I like motorcycles, but I don't want to build those. I want to build this, which is completely custom, unique. I mean, what was it that inspired you to even want to do that? That's a big undertaking, by the way.
Well,
Was it evolution? Was
yeah,
it just a progression?
as with anybody who's ever picked up a wrench, and I don't profess to be a genius or know it all or any of the above. And and on that topic, you had said before a guy who does it all in your intro. And I don't think anybody, whether you're building trophy trucks or NASCAR series, race cars at any level, from street stock to Whelen modifieds to the truck series to the Cup series or IMSA cars or Trans Am cars, drag cars, it doesn't matter. Nobody does this by themselves. I have been blessed to have the opportunity to work with amazingly talented people. And those people collectively come together to build the motorcycles and the race cars and the things that I've done in my lifetime. It wasn't just my skill sets. It was the skill sets of a lot of people, in many cases, people that were far more talented than I. And we were just able to take, I guess somebody had to be the quarterback, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And I quarterbacked that particular motorcycle or that particular car or whatever it was. As far as getting involved in it, you have that first bicycle and you take something off and you're, holy crap, I broke this. How does it go back together again? What are all these little balls? Oh crap, they're ball bearings. How do you stick them back in there? And you don't make that mistake the second time. And part of that progression is making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. After all, if you make a mistake and you don't learn from the mistake, then you were truly the loser. Use the mistake as a learning opportunity.
Right.
And that turned into motocross bikes. And, let's face the reality, I wasn't the smallest of guys around. And
Yeah,
the
that's
guys that were, the guys that are 5'2", they're 130 pounds, were kicking my butt. I was just a brick sitting on a motorcycle. I did it because I guess it was fun. I wasn't very good at it. Progressed into drag bikes, and in the late 80s, I guess early 90s, somewhere around there, uh, I set 9 national records on a drag bike, and it was an absolute blast. And in that mix someplace there, I got involved with race cars and ran across some great people and put together a number of marvelous friendships and things like that in automobile racing. Won a couple of championships, won a lot of races. And while I still love race cars and all that, the motorcycle industry, going back to that single digit kid, was still where it was. It was just fun. And to this day, I don't quite know how I got there. I don't know. I was just never settled, wasn't happy with what you could buy over the counter, I guess you may say. And
yeah.
I wanted it to be better, cooler, neater, trickier, more reliable, whatever the case may be. I don't know how it got here. I truly don't.
Yeah. Well,
Very, very blessed to be here.
yeah. Well, it's an evolution. Like for me, when I got into bikes, I got my first chopper in 2004 or the beginning of 2005. And
Right.
I always said I wanted to build one, but I was an automotive mechanic for Toyota.
Hmm.
So my skill set to work on things was already there. I didn't know how to weld, didn't do any of that. But as time progressed, I had to learn certain things with building motorcycle seats. I had to learn how to weld to make the sissy bars because I make seats that have sissy bars built into them.
Right.
So the progression just goes and goes, and it just progressed to a point where I'm nowhere near, not even in the same solar system that you are with building bikes. But my creativity level that's inside my head is like, theoretically, it's two wheels and something moving it. So I
Yeah.
can either put a pedal and chains on it, or I can put an electric motor on it, a Briggs and Stratton. I can put anything in it to make it move. But I want to make everything around what makes it move really, really cool. Um, when I see stuff like you do, you have this huge intake stack coming off of the blue bike, and I'm like, man, but what about the air filtration? How does that work? Which I'm positive I know how it works with bikes like that. But it's the coolness that my mind would tell me, nah, don't do that because you're going to want to ride this at a later date, put a couple hundred miles on. But in your mind, from what I can see, it's like, okay, well, yeah, it's like common knowledge it needs filtration, but man, we're going to make this as cool as all get out. It's just amazing to me that your mind thinks that way.
Well, and it's funny that you picked out the intake stack or whatever you want to call it and I assume you're talking about the Hard Rock Casino Roadhouse bike.
Hmm.
If you saw what was inside that very simple looking vertical scoop that's, pointing forward or forward facing, there's a group of, I think that was 11 pieces all put together into one piece. There was a fabricator who worked for me at the time by the name of Jeff Johnson, and Jeff was phenomenal at what he did. And I had the concept, and between the concept and Jeff's skill sets, all these different tapers, and the long and the short of this is there's actually a filter inside that. The filter is shaped like a cone. At the base of the cone, there's a trim ring that funnels downward to the inside edge, funneling toward a hole on the side, so that if it ever took water in through the nose, the filter would shed it, drop it into the bottom, and it would go off the inside corner, so that when you looked at it from the outside of the motorcycle from the right hand side, you didn't see the drain hole.
Hmm.
And you tell you tell people, you did this, and they look at you and go, yeah, right. They're tone deaf to it.
Yeah.
If one person approached me about, hey, I want to buy one of those, how much? If they realized that there's a week's worth of work in that thing, and you told them the price, if you were charging, pick a number, if you're charging $100 an hour, plus the cost of the materials, plus the filter, plus the billet bracket that bolted it to the engine. Can you imagine what the cost would be? And people look at you like you're insane because I can buy one out of a catalog for, $300. So yeah,
So
that intake was stupid, over the top engineered, way, way over the top.
so I have a question for you based off what you just said, because you hit the nail on the head with something. This air stack looks so cool but simple, but if people knew what went in it, it makes it almost unpurchasable. Now,
Exactly.
do you ever catch yourself going to a store or um, any kind of store and you see something you want to buy and you look at it, and instead of looking at the price tag, you view the price tag, and then you look at the whatever it is you're going to buy, and you're like, how did they make it for so cheap? I I know the craftsman, the level of time it would take to build this, but they're going to sell it for $5.99. This is easily a $500 whatever I'm going to buy based off the labor and what the design and everything. Because I do that all the time now. Building the gas tank, building exhaust, building the intake, the air cleaner, the primary cover, all the stuff that I've actually put my hands on. When I go look at something now, like a lamp, a simple lamp, and let's say it's at Walmart for 19.99, I have to evaluate the lamp and be like, wow, how can they sell it for 19.99? I know that this took so much longer to actually build with materials and someone standing there
But you
crafting.
know the answer to this.
I
You
do
know
know
the
the
answer.
answer. All day long, I know the answer to that.
Yeah,
Well, but
and
that's the way my mind works.
and 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 I can correlate everything you're saying into so many things that I've done in my lifetime within the motorcycle industry. You look at just build chassis, for example. You know, we did a series of chassis that were called Icon series chassis, and we limited that to 10 pieces.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the bad news is that with that exclusivity of only making 10 of one thing, so to speak, you get to recoup a little bit of your R&D expenses, so on and so forth, but it's still very, very costly. And if I took that same chassis, which was a sheet metal chassis, had a seat surround done on it, the rear fender was part of the back of the chassis, came with a fuel tank, blah, blah, blah. It was a costly piece. It was beautifully crafted. But instead of making 10, if I'd made 1,000 of those, probably could have cut the cost in half.
Oh yeah.
But with doing so, you kill the exclusivity.
Mm-hmm.
So, which side of that do you want to be? Do you want to be, you have to, part of the business plan, you have to determine if you want to be the discounter or go after making the most parts for the least amount of money,
Right.
or go after exclusivity, building stuff that's beautifully crafted, stuff that was painfully made, and charge a little more. You'd probably make more money had I sold 1,000 of them versus only selling 10 of them.
Yeah.
But those 10 were stunning,
Yeah.
absolutely stunning. There wasn't a single detail that was missed on those bikes.
Right.
We did the icons, we did the top fuels. When we did the the Hard Rock Casino bike, I had someone approach me about building another one of those chassis, and I sat down and figured out the cost. I mean, it was the cost of a small car. And I called the guy back and said, I can't believe you'd want to do this. This is how much it's going to be. And to my amazement, he said, sure. What do I need to do to get it? In that case, exclusivity was what he was looking for.
Yeah. Well, my whole point behind that statement was is that it's not so much because I know the answer. The answer is manufacturing. You know, you can
Absolutely.
take a part and if you manufacture it, you can get the cost way down because you can produce the part so much quicker. But my
Correct.
point is not that. My point was is that because you do what you do you ever find yourself so honed in on, I know how long this takes to do certain things with my two hands. I can't believe that they would sell that. It's almost like a put down to the craftsman. You know, it's like, being a bass player. Whenever I listen to music, I can't just sit back and enjoy a song because I'm always listening to what the bass player's doing or thinking, hey, the
Right.
bass player should have done this in this place or that. And it's kind of like a double edged sword. I love the music, but now I have to dissect the music, just like
Right.
building bikes. I'm the craftsman, but now whenever I see someone else's bike, I have to dissect what they built. I can't just enjoy the fact that they built artwork. I look at it and
Well,
I'm like, wow, why would they do that? Or, why did they do this?
I don't know that I don't know that I dissect other bike builders or even cars or race cars. I don't know that I dissect them to the point of I'm looking for flaw.
Oh, no, 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 not the
I
flaw, the creativity.
Yeah, and that's me. We we all have things that we like, so to speak, that's maybe our style or
Mhm.
something that we would, buy if we saw it. It was, just that cool. We had to have it. You don't have to like, the style of every motorcycle you see or the style of every one-off car that you see,
Absolutely.
but you can appreciate the effort that went into, the layout and the
Mhm.
thought process and the fabrication when you make stuff that's one off and something that I've tried to explain to so many people that yeah, you see this, whatever, pick apart, you see this set of handlebars that are bolted on this motorcycle over here. What you don't see is the other three sets that I made prior to this one that weren't up to my quality level, or they weren't to my liking, and I
Right.
threw those away. So yeah, you look at it and say, how much is that? Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I had 60 hours in to make it until I got it to the point where it looked right on the vehicle.
Right.
And there does there comes a point in time where you have to stop trying to continue to reinvent it,
Right.
and just learn the lesson. And not that you look at it and say, yeah, okay, fine, that's good enough. It's not a case of it's good enough. It's that it just doesn't need to be any better. It is outstanding as it is. And as we both know, every time you do something, you learn something. And you just take that lesson and you use it on the next one you build.
Right.
There has to be that point in time that you just move forward.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
I'm sorry that I probably messed up your question
No, not at all.
about
You actually,
production pieces.
well, my whole point was just that it's kind of like being stuck in your own head. When you see something like I'm a huge fan of your bikes. I'm a huge fan of Jesse
Thank
James'
you.
bikes. I'm a huge fan of the Tuttle's bikes. Um, I'm also a huge fan of my friend Brian Barber's bikes or TD Ward. These guys build bikes that are clean, that are nice, that are utilitarian, that, yes, they are artwork, but they are also the kind of bikes you're gonna, you could ride to Sturgis, So sitting back and looking at all these different builders and seeing like your bikes, one thing that if anybody ever asked me, well, does Doug have a certain style that he builds? I'd be like, yep, low and long. That's his style. And seeing everything that you build, you've never really backed yourself into a corner. But the bikes that always struck me that you built were very, very low and very long. And they always look like they're going really, really fast sitting on a kickstand. That's
Yeah, that's cool.
that's
I'm glad
that's
you
what I
see it that
see.
way.
Yeah. So Aaron Green builds what I like to call Hot Wheel bikes. His bikes are just so over the top. You're like, wow, that's crazy. But you also see Aaron riding. When you see Jesse James build a bike, you're like, man, that dude put a lot of work into what he did, like his copper gas tank. But then you go out and see him ride, 2,000 miles on it with Kid Rock. Or you see the Tuttles, which a lot of people hate the Tuttles, and I just personally don't understand it. But you see how Paul Jr. designs what he designs, which is basically artwork, and then they physically go ride it. I don't know how long they ride them, and I could care less. That's them. But you got it. It's almost like whether a person owns a Sportster or whether they got that $200,000 Matt Hotch bike or Doug Keim bike. You got to give them the respect that I feel like they're due because they're in it. They're into what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yes, our industry, and it's no different than the car industry. When you look around, there are people, and you had mentioned the titles, who get the marketing machine was just amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody, whether you were into motorcycles or not, you knew the name. And you look at guys like, yeah, I don't know, you look at, yeah, I'm afraid that I'm going to say the wrong name here and not remember somebody that I think equally, as much of. And I don't want to insult anybody, but you look at Paul Cox. I mean, the stuff that Paul built is drop dead stunning. You look at Bill Steele stuff. I haven't seen a Bill Steele bike in a while, but Bill Steele motorcycles were gorgeous. Um, Larry Moore, here's another guy, absolutely gorgeous motorcycles. Um, I've always been a big fan of Roger Goldhammer. I
Oh
think that
yeah,
the
Jesus.
engineering and thought processes, and it doesn't matter if it's suspension, internal engine, frame, wheels, tires, brake systems. The guy is brilliant. And you go out on Main Street and you say, Larry Moore, or you say Roger Goldhammer, yeah, you could say Doug Keim for that matter. And you're going to find a lot of people are going to go, who? And
Exactly. Which
and
drives
that's
me
okay.
nuts. That drives me nuts.
I I can't say that it ever drove me nuts. It from a business philosophy, if you're going to start a business, and it seems as though modern businesses these days, not saying it's the right way or the wrong way, but a business these days, if you go into opening a new operation and you're going to take $1 million and throw at it, you're going to put $900,000 in the advertising and marketing of that business, and you're only going to put 100 grand into the actual business. Versus my mentality is that if I'm going to spend $1 million, I'm going to put my best stuff out there, and I'm going to spend $999,999 on the product and let my product do the talking for me.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why people don't know my name, and that's okay, because I'm the one who has to live with myself at the end of the day. I have to look back and say, yeah, that bike came out the way it was supposed to come out, or even better than it was supposed to come out. And I can live with the stuff that I've built. And I kind of did my talking with my bikes. And, I hope that that was enough, I guess.
Well, it is, and it's really behind my banner. I have nothing but a wall of pictures of people that I met in 2003, 2004. And it's people that have inspired me. And I always feel guilty when I say the people that inspire me. It's almost like saying, well, aren't I good enough to inspire you? Yeah, actually, you are good enough to inspire me. But the people that inspired me to start doing what I'm doing, there's only three people, and that's Matt Hotch, Joe Martin, and Aaron Green. And it's because they built the style of bike that I liked. Now, do I get inspired by people? I ain't gonna lie to you. Right now, looking at some of the bikes that you have built, it's inspiring me to want to build another bike, because I like the flow. I like what you did. A minute ago, you were talking about how people don't know your names or how they don't know certain people. The reason that drives me nuts is because if you're going to be in the industry and this is what you want to do, I almost feel like you should pay some type of homage to the people that came before you. Um, I about 5 or 6 years ago, I got real big into the history of Harley Davidson. And it wasn't because I wanted to, claim to be the best Harley guy out there. It's because I was intrigued how they got started. I was intrigued what all they went through and were able to bounce back every time, and how that name is synonymous with motorcycles. If you can say Harley Davidson anywhere in the entire world, and they are going to know that's a motorcycle, you know. So that
Agreed.
history is very good. So some of the newer builders nowadays, I'm just like, I don't expect them to know everybody, um, because and I don't mean this as far as talent, I mean this as far as notoriety. There were a lot more B class builders, in the late 1990s and early 2000s than there were A class. A class in my mind are Matt Hodge, the Martin brothers, Paul Cox, all that group of builders, because they were on TV all the time. They were at the rallies. They were in the magazines. I mean, how they had endorsement deals from, all the major automotive manufacturers. Those were the A-class builders, the rock stars. I don't expect them to know all the B-class builders. But if you don't at least pay attention to the A-class builders that were out there doing it every day, bringing this industry to the level that it's at now, I kind of feel like you to a certain degree, you don't deserve the success that you could have had. Like you, I feel like I owe you a huge debt of gratitude because you built what you built and you've done what you've done. And it makes what I do easier to accomplish because I have a platform to look at. I have someone's history to see. Well, Doug did this. Doug did this. I can talk about that shit all night long. I guarantee you. I got some other stuff I want to talk about with you that's very impressive to me. Maybe not to you, but I want to know about this. How did you get hooked up and do a bike for Pharrell?
Uh,
Not that he's any more or any less important than any other customer, but he is Pharrell.
Wait, he is Pharrell, exactly. And we did two bikes for Pharrell, and we did another bike for a gentleman by the name of. The best description that I can give you of that whole. I mean, I could take a day just trying to explain that whole thing, but I certainly won't. Um, we received a phone call in 2009, I believe it was, from a large publishing company out of New York, and they had a contract with the motor company. The motor company wanted to attract several celebrities and customize a Harley without losing, let's say, the flavor of it being a Harley. They wanted to trick it out, but you still had to be able to tell that it was a Harley Davidson at 50 feet or 100 feet. So the deal was that this publishing company wanted us to come up with a concept bike to give to Pharrell, and that's the shortest answer that I can give to that one. We built the first one, which was essentially a white and blue. We started with a brand new Harley Davidson Crossbones, and we lowered it and put 23s on it front and back. Uh, Made a set of bars for it that were a little more flat tracker-esque. Made a set of pipes for it. Made made an exhaust system for it. Did a very nice clean seat on it. The blue insets that were on the motorcycle were actually Pharrell's clothing company, Billionaire Boys Club clothing company, was actually their logo. And the detail in that bike I thought was pretty astounding. And it came out great. And I think I sent you a picture of it actually.
Yeah, I just showed it.
That bike, oh, you did?
Yeah,
That bike came out just so sweet. And I mean, think just the reality of that is that it's it's a crossbones. That's essentially what we started with.
yeah,
That one went over pretty well, and I want to say a month after we did that one, they reached out again, and they wanted to build another bike for Pharrell. And this one, as you again see, was the bike Americana, which was a very military themed kind of bike. Again, we did 23s, and we did stuff that was recognizable as being American, so to speak, and not a cafe racer or a British bike or a Japanese bike or something like that. We wanted it to be recognizable as a flat track bike, and did all the weathered logos on it and all that. Again, made an exhaust system, made handlebars and things, and that one went directly to Pharrell. And that bike was also slightly different direction than Cosmic Racer was, which was the first one, but still came out very, very neat.
yeah.
I have a lot of favorite pieces on that bike. One of the favorite pieces were on the top of the fuel tank. There is what appears to be old 1920s luggage stickers that any traveler back in those days would have had stuck for all the different places that they went on their luggage. We did three, I believe it was, stickers on the top of the fuel tank,
Mhm.
and those are actually painted on. And I don't know if you can put a picture of that up there because I can't see what you're doing on your end there.
I'll drop me off so I can
They
close out.
came, they came out so nice that it was just absurd. And if you look at the seat on that bike, the seat on that bike appears to just be a camo pattern. And that was actually one of Billionaire Boys Club's jackets that we took their jacket, cut it up, and used the jacket as the covering on the seat. And if you look really closely at that seat, you will see that there are little patterns of dogs and trees and cats and all kinds of really trick little things in a digital camo print. And again, I thought that was pretty darn cool. Not that we did it, I just thought that it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Now we're reversed from each other.
Yeah, we're reversed, but that's all right. It all works, I guess.
Yeah. So it's okay because I'm gonna move us back around. But well, the reason I wanted to bring that up is because you don't just get contracted to do something like that without being at a level. Um, I've never been approached by a celebrity or any company to do something for a celebrity. Um, I know there's builders here in Houston that have, but you have to. I would think you'd have to be at a level to build bikes at that level. Does that make sense? Like they're
Uh,
not just going to go down to the street and find somebody and say, "Hey, by the way, we want to do a bike for Pharrell." They've got to have faith in you and your
there has
abilities
to
to
be
do what
some
you did.
credibility. Yeah, you have to have some
Yes,
credibility. Um, and they were actually wonderful to work with. There were two people in particular from the motor company that we had face-to-face contact with. We did those two, and then I had mentioned Funkmaster Flex. We had done a street glide for him, and again, it was a great opportunity to step away, so to speak, from the custom motorcycle industry and go after customizing Harleys and doing something that wasn't just a bunch of catalog bolt-on parts, so to speak, but taking the
right,
balance of bolt-on with some one-off stuff and building something that was a little more out of the box than the normal black Harley Davidson in the parking lot.
right. I got in an argument with a guy at work today, my day job, about the black standard Harley Davidson. And although I understand that people like the rideability and the uniqueness of a standard Harley Davidson. I think he took me wrong, like I was kind of putting it down, and I was like, no, that's it's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I'm not that guy.
Right.
I can't have something stock. It's never going to happen. My mind doesn't work that way. I have to customize whatever it is I own. It drives my wife nuts. I mean, I bought a brand new 2019 Dodge Lone Star, and the very first thing I did, I had to put an exhaust on it, and then I had to put rims and tires on it. Then seat covers on it. And it's I think to a degree it's a sickness, but the reality is that I just I think my personality dictates that I have to have something unique to me. I can't be like everybody else. And I think I offended him when I said that. I think it was the way that I said it. Yeah, you've got a black street glide, you paid $36,000 for it. You know, do you have an alarm on it so you can find it when it's time to go home? I mean, and that's kind of a dick thing to say, but that's how I feel sometimes. But I'm in the custom side of this world. I'm not in the performance side of it or the club side of it. I'm in the custom side. So everything I see, I look at it. I'm like, well, we could do this to it. We could do that to it. I can't leave well enough alone. Um,
Exactly.
so do you ride yourself?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What do you ride?
Buells are among my favorite motorcycles in the whole darn world. And both my wife and I have Buells. Have a couple of customs. Um, don't ride as much as I used to, only because just I'm blessed. The shop has been busy, and there just never seems to be enough time in the day. But that's a good problem to have.
Absolutely, it is. So I'm not, I told you if there's anything I bring up you don't want to discuss, just let me know. Your shop is originally from Jersey. Is that correct?
Yeah, Central Southern New Jersey. Yes.
Okay. How long have you been in Florida?
Oh boy, 11 years, 10 years, something like that now.
Right on. So
You say New Jersey, and I just want to, if I can take just a second to touch on that.
absolutely you can.
You know, people here in New Jersey, and for the, I'm not, and I'm painting a bad picture here, and I don't really mean to. Some
Yeah.
people think, oil fields and Newark Airport. And yeah, that is a portion of, northeastern central, northeastern New Jersey. Absolutely, that's what's there. Port Elizabeth is huge. I believe in the United States, I think it may be worldwide, the second largest oil reserves on the planet. So yes, it's there, it exists. But that little state thing, where every state has their little moniker. The state of New Jersey is the Garden State. And I lived in the farming section and the horses and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't, hey, yo, what you doing over there? Hey, what exit you live off of? You
Yeah.
know, and I cannot tell you how many people that I have spoken to in the motorcycle industry that realize that I'm from New Jersey and they go, hey, you don't sound like you're from there.
Yeah.
I was truly born and raised there. I didn't move in from out of state or anything like that. And where my shop was located, where we resided, was reasonably rural. When I was a kid, it was extremely rural. And as, of course, people moved in, it became busier and busier.
Yeah.
And hence the need for the move. I moved to a place that was very, very much like where I grew up. We now reside in the northern side of Central Florida, quite rural. It's orange groves and cattle and farms and horses and big piece of property and lots of forest space.
Right on. So do do you ever just get on your bikes and just go to get away, or do you plan trips on the bikes, or or you just take little putts around the neighborhood and stuff?
Don't ride as much as we used to. Um, Lots of different reasons that we don't ride as much as we used to. Most of our rides would have been just for the joy of riding, I guess, would be the answer. Whether it be on if we had the time during the week or on a weekend, climb on the bikes, leave early, pick a destination, sorry, in the distance, and go grab a bite to eat, turn around, come back, and spend the day on a motorcycle enjoying it.
Yeah.
We have done that for a very long period of time, and sadly, just don't do it enough anymore. It's just, that life goes on between kids
Yeah.
and grandkids and businesses and things like that. There's sometimes just not enough time in the day, and some things have to slip through the cracks. And sadly, it's been motorcycling lately.
Yeah. So do you still go to the rallies and stuff like that and set up booths or anything like that?
Not like we used to.
Yeah.
Back in the day when we had the Freightliner and the big Featherlight and the awning on the side and the LCD TVs and that whole dog and pony show thing. Um, it takes a lot to put all that together, and
Mhm.
going back to having to have the best or build the best. We built a custom built truck. We had Featherlight build us a custom made trailer. Larry DeForest from Arrow Awnings built us a custom awning. We had tons of money tied up in this thing, but I wanted to A, be reliable, B, be safe, and I wanted to have at least a nice appearing display. I didn't want to look like, look at me. I just pulled up with my rickety old pickup truck with the bottoms of the door rusted out,
Yeah.
with my open trailer with, look at the stuff that I cobbled together. If you're truly trying to build, you know, good or great quality stuff, I don't want to say the word great, but I would hope our products were always great quality. If you're trying to be that guy, that has to be consistent, and our truck and trailer had to look that way. Um, it just After all those years, it became a lot. It was just
Yeah.
a lot. And when we had the opportunity to sell off the equipment, in the shop up in New Jersey and come south, it was a good opportunity to break away from that, so to speak, and get away from being that big shop with, and I'm not saying employees are bad. I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying that. I was blessed with a lot of great employees, and the majority of those individuals are still my friends to this day. But getting that opportunity to go away from a shop that required employees to
Yeah.
get things accomplished because the workload was just that large, to being able to come back into a small shop and be the tech, the guy who builds the thing, the guy who fixes it, the guy who writes the work order, the guy who road tests it, the guy who meets with the client when it's done.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to take the business from where it ended up and use that good fortune to going back to being the shop back when it was fun. When it was at the end of the day, you closed the door and you just looked over your shoulder that one extra time just to look back to see what you accomplished that day. It was more than just the money, it was the accomplishment. And the shop here in Florida is, I'm going to call it a concierge business. And I don't know whether that has good tones to it or bad tones to it, but a lot of the people that we take care of are some of our old clients from New Jersey who
Yeah.
transport their bikes down for us to do the things that they want or need done or build something, from scratch.
Yeah.
We have a lot of out-of-state clients, as well as having, I couldn't count them on all my fingers and all my toes. We call them client friends here. I know things about these people. I don't consider them just, someone who just came in off the street that I just sold a $20 oil filter to.
Yeah.
These people are my friends. I know their family members. I know their wife's name. I know their kid's name. I know what they do. And we go out. We pick their motorcycles up in an enclosed trailer with no names, no logos on it. We bring them back. We do repairs, maintenance, crash damage, paint, whatever it may be, and then we return them in the very same fashion. And it it's it's fun again. I
Yeah.
love what I do for a living. I know that I've posted that on social media, numerous times, that I love what I do. I love going to work the following day.
Yeah.
And going from the craziness of a big shop where, when you're in that big shop environment and your name is the one that's over the door, you're in the shop a small period of that day. And the rest of the day you're looking at the parts orders and the bills and this phone call and that client that wants to speak to you and the marketing plan and this and that and three employees that aren't getting along and somebody who's angry at their wife or mad at their kids or have to leave early or coming in late or two people are sick or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You get away from doing what you actually open the doors of your business to do.
Yeah.
And again, it was a blessing, and I didn't realize how much of a blessing it was at first. It was tough to get away from that big shop environment, and I mean, we had just about every piece of equipment you can imagine. If you needed a part, and you needed a brake fitting, or you needed something, and you needed wheel bearing spacers, you needed an axle, you needed something where you run over the milling machine and you get it. You needed a piece of tubing. Well, You go get the piece of tubing, you go into the fab shop, you square it up on the surface plate, and you TIG weld the thing together. You made whatever you needed that you'd had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different in this environment. It's a smaller shop, and we have to rely on some things outside. Uh, but again, I get to be personally hands-on involved with each and everything that comes in this shop. So yeah, that move was massive, but yeah, I am absolutely thrilled to death every day I go to work.
That's awesome. Well, that's the best thing. They say, you need to be happy with what you do. That's what keeps you getting up. Um, there's so many things, man. And I hope I get to Florida one day so I can actually shake your hand in person. Um, you really are one of those guys, and it's funny because you told me a story the other day about how somebody, they see the big rig and they see all the stuff, and they thought you were an ass, you know,
That
and
was
but
that was absolutely comical, and the expression on the guy's face was
yeah. Well,
priceless,
well,
just
tell them a real quick
priceless.
version of that. Tell them a real quick
Uh,
version of that so they
uh,
understand what I'm talking about.
Real quick version of the story is we were at Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach. We were set up there with our tractor, our trailer and display and everything. And when we would set that stuff up, I would walk across the aisle and look at my display to see if it looked good or bad, or if there was something out of place, so to speak. And I was standing there just, looking at my trailer, and a guy walks up to me and he says, "Hmm, yeah, that guy's a real ass." And I didn't say a word, I just bit my tongue, I wasn't there to create the argument. And we got to talking, just, chit chat. And then the guy said, "Do you know anything about Harleys?" And I said, "Well, some things, yeah. Why?" "Well, I have this fat boy, and every once in a while it blows the lamp fuse, and I can't figure out why it does that." "Oh, okay. Do you have passing lamps on your fat boy?" "Yeah, no, I don't. Why?" "Look on the left side, go to the neck of the bike, left hand side, right behind the tin. Look in there for a flag connector. Probably going to be black in color, blah, 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 blah. And it's supposed to have a rubber boot slipped over the end of the flag connector. If it doesn't and the connector is open when you turn left and right sometimes, that open end of the connector will contact the steering stop and it will blow the fuse out." He looks at me and says, "Wow, yeah, that could happen. Yeah, I remember seeing that thing in there, but I didn't think anything of it. So that's for the passing lamps." I said, "Yeah, it's powered. It's hot all the time." "Wow, well, thank you. Wow, that's really great. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, by the way," he says, "my name is Steve." And I said, "Steve, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Doug Keim." And and the jaw hit the chest and the eyes come out of his face, and there was this uncomfortable, pause for a moment. And he looks at me and he says, "Wow, you're not an asshole at all." We both had to laugh about it. We just
Yeah,
had to laugh about it. And it turned out that I got that opportunity to say, "Well, Steve, why did you think I was an asshole,
yeah.
in the first place?" It wasn't as though we had ever met one another face to face, or, had any kind of personal dealings.
Mhm.
"Why did you think that?" And of course, the response was, "Well, I've seen you on TV. I've seen you in magazines. I come up and I see this big truck and trailer, and I just figured that you were just a gifted guy with a whole lot of money. I had no idea that you really knew something about motorcycles, and you just didn't buy into a business."
Yeah,
It turned out that we had a very nice conversation after that. But the sad reality is that if there's one Steve in the world, there's a lot of others.
yep,
And it's not just Doug Kine. There's a lot of people, regardless of what industry you're in or what you do for a living, that people have you tagged with something that maybe you're not guilty of. And maybe you are, but maybe you're
yeah,
not.
yeah. Well, I know this. I never knew you were as tall as you are, uh, and looking at some of these pictures, like this one right here, I look at that picture and you're, I don't know if it was a photo shoot or what it was doing, but you're standing there and it's a perfectly white building on that blue chopper, and you're just standing on top of it. And it's just burning the back wheel off of it. But
Dino
when,
Petroselli's photo studio. Yeah.
well, when you look at that picture, you look at this guy and you're like, man, that's a big ass dude. I mean, ah, geez, you get a preconceived notion when you see somebody. And I even told you, I mean, it's so hard to believe you're so soft spoken and, you're jovial, but you've also got that side of you that exactly what you're talking about with bikes. Something simple like that flag connector. You know, people lose their minds trying to figure things like that out. And when a guy that you look at and you're like, man, I bet this dude's an asshole. And he just genuinely, quietly, nicely, politely helps you with no expectations of anything in return. You're like, wow, you know, you probably just you probably just made a huge mark on that guy's life without even realizing it was more than just that plug.
It was a
You know what I
learning
mean?
opportunity.
Yeah.
It was a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
Maybe he cut somebody else some slack in the future.
Yeah. So, well, dude, it's been an entire hour and I know it's late there.
That's all
I'm
right.
not,
It's all good. It doesn't seem like it's been an hour.
it, it,
Time has moved along.
I did tell you that it goes really, really fast whenever you're talking. And it's just like talking on the phone. I mean, we could sit here, I guarantee you, we could fill up another hour easily. But I want to save something so I can have you on here again and, a part two, because there's a lot more stuff I still want to ask you about what you're doing and what the future of creative cycles is. I mean, are you just going to keep going till you can't go anymore? Or
That's the
uh,
plan.
he said,
That's the
that's the
plan.
plan. I can't wait till you get into the audio game.
The audio game? Yeah, I don't think so. I
He
don't
said,
think
yeah, I
so.
don't think so.
No, I don't
but
think
you,
so.
but you did build a really kick-ass bagger. I mean, that bagger right there, that red and gold road glide. I mean, that is a kick-ass looking bike. I mean,
And what a great riding bike. What a fun bike to ride. That thing's like, I thought it was 155 horsepower at the rear wheel, normally aspirated. That bike's a blast to ride. Absolute blast.
really, I think some of these people are crazy because some of the people can hear us just fine. Other people say the audio is gone. So they're going to have to come back and watch it. I don't know. Maybe it's that I added all these pictures and stuff in here and I've never done that before. So that might be messing with them. I don't know. But Doug, I want to say thank you very much. I
Hey, thank you for
genuinely
having this. I truly
appreciate
appreciate
you
it.
coming and doing this. And I look forward to the next time because I do have a lot more I want to ask you. But it's getting late and we all got to get up early to go to work,
Yep. Well,
unfortunately.
you let
So
me
we get the
know,
lottery.
and we'll try and put it together again.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, go have a great night, man. And thank you again. I appreciate you.
Hey, thank you for the opportunity. It's truly humbling to get these opportunities.
Well, you're part of the family now, so you can come back anytime. We'll set it up.
Thanks,
All
man.
right. All right,
All right,
buddy.
man. God
Bye bye.
bless.
You too.
Bye for now.